It's a religious war. It's Islam versus Judaism. We long for Eretz Israel, the creation of greater Israel that the Old Testament says God promised to the Jewish people. The biblical domain included what is now Israel and the West Bank, what they call Judea and Samaria. There's going to be Arab terror and there's going to be Jewish terror. It's the way of things here. Centuries before the principles of Zionism brought Jews to live in the desert hills west of the Jordan River, Arab families were farming the rocky soil and populating the towns. Centuries before that, the Jews counter, their ancestors not only occupied the land, it was promised to them by God. The land sale 4,000 years ago that gave Abraham the cave of Machpelah is the historic claim Jewish settlers now use to live in the Arab city of Hebron, and they pray at the shrine. Abraham, the father of monotheistic religion, is Ibrahim to the Arabs, who placed a mosque on the site of his name. So we see that what we're going to look at tonight, the Abrahamic covenant, is very contemporary. Even though it started 4,000 years ago, it's in the paper today, okay? The Abrahamic covenant is the agreement with Abraham which forms the foundation of the Bible. Up to this point, all the people on the earth have been Gentiles, but God is going to create, through Abraham, a group of people he's going to call his own. Those people are going to be called Jews. The first verse we want to look at is Genesis 12, 1 through 4.
The Lord had said to Abram, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all peoples on the earth will be blessed through you." So Abram left as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran.
All right, so how old was Abraham? 75 years old. Let's not forget that, okay? Abraham will obey God and he'll walk into northern Israel. He'll stay there 20 years with his wife and his nephew Lot. And we remember Lot from the Sodom and Gomorrah story in the Bible. Then God will call him again and gives him an offer of a contract. Now, in the Bible, a contract is called a covenant, okay? But a covenant is nothing more than a contract, okay? And this is what the covenant is. It's called the Abrahamic covenant in the Bible. Consists of LSD, which is drugs, right? No. The Abrahamic covenant consists of the following. The first thing is land. God says that they will have that land forever. He will have spiritual blessings. How? The whole world will be blessed because the Messiah, the offspring of Eve, will come through Abraham. And he will have descendants, a nation of people who are Jews. So let's look at this one at a time. The first promise is that he'll have land. Genesis 13, 14 through 15.
The Lord said to Abram, after Lot had parted from him, "Lift up your eyes from where you are and look north and south, east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever."
How long do they get the land? Forever, okay. Spiritual blessings. Genesis 22, 18.
"And through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed because you have obeyed me."
All nations will be blessed. How is that going to happen? The Messiah, Jesus Christ, will come from the line of Abraham, okay? Spiritual blessings. Now I want you to note, we're talking about offspring here. Up until this point, Satan has concentrated his attack on the whole world. All right? Now that God is going to create a group of people, Satan will narrow down his attack to one group of people. You see that? Okay. Descendants. Genesis 12:2.
"I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing." Okay,
in Genesis 12:1, which we didn't read, Abram's name is named Abram, and that means exalted father. So you can imagine he walks into the Rotary Club and he says, "Hi guys, exalted father here." The problem was Abraham had no kids. He's 75 years old and hasn't got a kid, okay? Now, the problem is age a barrier for God? Well, let's see. The first one is Genesis 12:4.
"So Abram left as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran."
Not exactly a spring chicken, would you say? What about Sarah? Genesis 18:11.
Abraham and Sarah were already old and well advanced in years, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing.
Okay, so God is making this perfectly clear. They can't have any kids, okay? Without His help, they can't have any kids, okay? Now, in Genesis 13, 14, 15, and 16, God will repromise LSD, the land, spiritual blessings, and descendants. And then Abraham goes to God and he questions Him about, how are you going to make this all happen since I don't have any kids? It's Genesis 15, 1 through 5.
After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward. But Abram said, O sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless, and the one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus? And Abram said, You have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir. Then the word of the Lord came to him, This man will not be your heir, but a son coming from your own body will be your heir. He took him outside and said, Look up at the heavens and count the stars, if indeed you can count them. Then he said to him, So shall your offspring be.
Okay, this was right in the culture of the time. Remember, this was before Medicare and Social Security. So if you didn't have any kids to take care of you in your old age, what you did was you took your most trusted servant and you declared that that would be your heir. And when you could no longer function properly, that person would inherit your whole estate and he would take care of you till you died. So that was the right in the culture. But that isn't what God had in mind at all. So Genesis 15, 6 through 17.
Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. He also said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of the Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to take possession of it. But Abram said, O sovereign Lord, how can I know that I will gain possession of it? So the Lord said to him, Bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old, along with a dove and a young pigeon. Abram brought all these to him, cut them in two, and arranged the halves opposite each other. The birds, however, he did not cut in half. Then the birds of prey came down on the carcasses, but Abram drove them away. As the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a thick and dreadful darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to him, Know for certain that your descendants will be a stranger in their country, not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated 400 years. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. You, however, will go to your fathers in peace and be buried at a good old age. In the 4th generation your descendants will come back here, for the sins of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure. When the sun had set and darkness had fallen, a smoking firepot with a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces.
Okay, now the first verse she read is one of the most important verses in the Bible. It's Genesis 15:6. Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. Now, why would I say that's one of the most important verses in the Bible? That doesn't look like any big verse, does it? Here's the deal. Abram believed God in what was an impossible situation. This is the day that Abram became born again as far as God was concerned, okay? God declares him righteous on this day. You and I would have probably said Abram was righteous a long time before this, okay? Now, was he religious? Yeah, he was religious. He walked from Kuwait all the way to northern Israel for God. Then he walks down into Israel for God. He's a religious guy. He talks to God. But it is until this day that God declares him righteous. And what's important is when God does it, not when we do it. This is Abram's born again day, okay? Abram believes God in an impossible situation. The same is true for you and me. In order for us to have God declare us righteous, we have to believe God in an impossible situation. What is the impossible situation? That you and I can make ourselves acceptable to God and get there on our own. That's our impossible situation. Okay, in verse 8, Abram will ask God for a sign. Now, we read this stuff. They cut up animals and bring me a heifer, a goat, all this kind of stuff. Cut them in half. What in the world is going on? This is prior to word processors. This is prior to computers, all right? This is prior to lawyers, all right? So what we got is a situation where they would bring all these animals, they would cut them in half, and the blood would flow down between. And what they would do then is they would march arm in arm right through the middle of those animals. And what that would signify is both of us agree to both parts of this contract. Number one. Number two, we agree if any one of us reneges on this deal, we agree to end up like